Welcome to the nested warren. This is where Clover the rabbit lives, in a burrow built entirely out of chambers inside of other chambers. If you look closely at her home, you'll notice a specific architectural hierarchy. The deepest, innermost round room is called the parentheses. Clover has a strict rule for navigating this environment. She always hops past the surface layers to start in the absolute deepest chamber first, and only then works her way outward. Mathematical grouping symbols work exactly the same way. These notations act as physical boundaries, telling you exactly which part of an expression is a single step that must be finished before moving on. We map an expression into the dirt. 3 times, open parentheses, 4 plus 2, close parentheses. We finish the innermost round chamber first, combining 4 and 2 into 6. Then we hop outward, multiplying our new 6 by 3 to get 18. If we had ignored the burrow entirely and just calculated from left to right, we would multiply 3 by 4 to get 12, and then add 2 to get 14. These symbols act as rigid physical walls. They isolate a specific piece of the expression, ensuring that 4 plus 2 is processed as one whole step before the rest begins. Sometimes an expression requires more than one layer of isolation. For that, we build a secondary, larger square chamber around the first, known as brackets. This burrow has 2 nested layers, 2 times, open bracket, open parentheses, 3 plus 1, close parentheses, times 5, close bracket. The rule remains exactly the same. We ignore everything near the surface, dive straight into the deepest round parentheses chamber, and evaluate the 3 plus 1 to get 4. Now we back out one level into the square bracket chamber. We take our 4 and multiply it by the waiting 5, collapsing that entire room into a 20. Finally, we make our last outward hop to the surface layer, multiplying our resolved 20 by the outermost 2 to get 40. Brackets exist to group a section of an expression that is already grouped. They enforce a strict sequential workflow, demanding that you build your way from the very core out to the perimeter. For the most complex expressions, we add a third layer of walls, the braces, which act as the outermost structural boundary for a massive grouping. This diagram shows a fully nested expression. All 3 layers are stacked together, with 2 plus 3 waiting in the absolute center. We bypass the outer numbers entirely and drop down to the central parentheses room, combining the 2 and the 3 into a 5. Retreating one layer out to the middle brackets, we multiply that 5 by 2 to clear the room, leaving us with a 10. Then we make our final retreat to the wavy outer braces, adding our 10 to the waiting 4 to get a final answer of 14. It doesn't matter how densely nested an expression appears on the page. You can dismantle any of them by starting right at the center and working outward, one layer at a time. We've watched 3 different expressions collapse into single numbers by following Clover's path through the dirt. The core rule to remember is innermost chamber first, parentheses, then brackets, and finally braces. These symbols organize the work. They define exactly which numbers belong together and which operations happen before the next one starts. As Clover finishes her work and leaves the warren tidy, our journey through the mathematical layers is now complete. But before we leave the meadow, take a look at the expression hovering here. Based on the path we've taken today, which chamber do you finish first, and what is the final value? Recognizing these boundaries allows you to handle expressions with many layers, dismantling them step by step from the center out.